Should you get an MBA? My name is Alex. We're going to go over a few key considerations you should make before you decide to apply for an MBA. Alright, so you might be asking yourself, who is this guy? Why should I listen to him? Well, my name is Alex. A few of my friends call me the Duke. I'm in my 30s. I worked for multiple large corporations in multiple different functions, for that matter. I've done strategic planning, financial planning, and analysis, a little bit of supply chain work, and a little bit of technical operations as well. I have spent more than 300 nights on the road a couple different years, and I finished my MBA a couple of years ago. I'm currently doing private consulting and a little bit of private equity investing. So let's dig into a couple of those reasons why you should or shouldn't get an MBA. Okay, so the first major point I think we should consider is, what's your experience level? Most of the people who go for their MBA, they have about 5 years work experience. That's the average. Now, does that mean you should or shouldn't go because you've only got 2 or 3? Maybe you've got more than that. No. Anybody can go for their MBA. It just depends on what your goals are. Now, if you're coming right out of undergrad, you should probably have a couple good internships and good grades. You'll be more likely to do better overall. What I have always heard is that your work experience is one of your single most valuable resume points. So, if you don't have work experience, it can be a little more challenging, but don't let that discourage you. If you're doing well, great. You can go straight for your MBA. I knew a girl who was in like biology in her undergrad, went straight for her MBA. She works for Deloitte Consulting now. She does very well. She's very smart. I also knew another guy who was a wrestler, and he went straight for his MBA. Guy works for Department of Defense now. If you've got those 5 years of work experience, you might be right at the right place to go put in your application for an MBA program. If you've got a lot more experience, that's fine too. It just depends on what your goals are. Maybe you want to change. Maybe you're just you want the education, whatever. But experience can be a factor. Maybe you want to wait a couple more years before you put in your application. All right, so our second major point of consideration is return on investment. That's right, ROI, our old friend. What will you get out of going for your MBA? Some people go to their MBA program and they come out the other side and they've doubled their earning potential. Some people are already making just as much as all those MBA grads in that program. And they say, well, why would I go do this? Well, maybe because they've topped out at their organization. That's a big thing. That happens a lot. They say, well, I really can't ascend any higher without having gotten that MBA. So you say, okay, well, basic math on how to do the ROI is how much does it cost? How much more are you going to make after you get out, right? How long, without any cost, time value of money, but, well, what's the payback period? Some people have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to go for their MBA. I had a full scholarship. I was lucky, but that could be something to look into for sure. I also had a monthly stipend and healthcare. So these are things to consider when you might be leaving your job to go to school full time. Can that MBA program supply some of those things that you are giving up? So again, got to calculate that ROI. What are you getting out on the other side? What are you giving up in the meantime? Another good reason, number 3, is industry change or maybe functional change. So this is one of the biggest reasons people go for their MBA. Maybe they're currently an engineer and they're just not finding that as satisfying. They want more of the big picture, or they decide they really like investing or something like that. Maybe you're currently in a laboratory technician, but you'd like to start getting into the management side of things. An MBA can be a great pivot point for you to change your trajectory. So industry change can be a great thing. Now, I will say that I think if you're trying to change industry, it can really be tough with your earning potential change. Where will you be in a couple years? If you don't have experience in a new industry, it can be very difficult to break in. You might even have to take a pay cut, but these are things to consider. All because you're making $100,000 now in whatever job you're doing in oil and gas. Maybe you won't be making that much when you go back to work in finance because you have to start at a lower level. It just depends on what kind of work you want to do and what kind of functions you want to be in for the long term. So this can be a great reason to go for your MBA. A lot of people go for that reason, and it works out very well for a lot of people. The last point people really tend to talk about, especially nowadays, and you might be asking me, you might be thinking this all along, you say, well, Alex, is it worth it? Well, the consultant's answer is depends. Depends on who you are, really. It depends on a lot of things. Uh, it will be a ton of work. At least it should be if it's a good MBA program. You have to pick a program which is a good fit for you. That will help make it worth it. You should learn a ton, no matter what. Really, even if you did business as undergrad, finance, going back to school to further study finance, getting your MBA, learning some of those management principles, you should learn a ton. My undergrad was energy business and finance. I went back for my MBA. I did finance and supply chain, and I learned so much. It was fantastic. That's what you want. And so you should make a ton of friends, hopefully, and have a lot of great life experiences. But it's going to be up to you to make sure that it's worth it. Make sure you've gotten into the right program that aligns well with your goals. That'll make it worth it. If you can pick the right program, get that good fit, find out where you can go to work afterwards, what kind of things like that, that'll help make it all worth it. In summation, we talked about experience level. Maybe you need a couple more years before you want to go back for your MBA, and that might be a good decision. So, but planning ahead can't hurt. Furthermore, you need to calculate your ROI. How is that going to affect your decision? How much are you giving up? How much more could you make? What are your qualitative benefits for going for your MBA? So literally try to evaluate that return on investment because it might be a really expensive endeavor. Furthermore, do you want to make an industry or functional change? That can be a great reason. A lot of people do that way, but get your expectations, again, set appropriately, what the results might be. You might even have to take a pay cut depending on what you're currently doing and then what you want to change to. Give plenty of thought to, will this MBA help me achieve my goals in the long term? That's the biggest thing that really needs to be considered in order for it to be worthwhile. So those are our main points of consideration when we decide should we go for an MBA. I leave you now with a quote from our old friend JP Morgan: money equals business, which equals power, all of which come from character and trust. Take care.